When something like this happens to you, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I didn't keep hoping it would happen. All the speeches that you've made up in your bedroom or in the bathtub go out of your mind completely. And you find that out of all the words in the world, just 2 stick in your mind. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining me. Today, let's talk about the Best Actress nominees of 2001. As usual, I will give you my personal opinion on each of these 5 nominated performances, and at the end tell you my choice for the Best Actress of the Year.
I don't know how I could not just fall to pieces. I never think it's going to happen to me. And then when it's happening to me, I just kind of fall apart. I plan on getting better as the years go on, hopefully.
We'd all love to win it. But, there's 1 award, there's 5 nominees, and, a nomination makes you feel like a winner. There are no losers. It's a great honor. The thing that makes the Academy Awards special is that it has such a tradition. It has such a history. You see all these photos of these icons holding these gold statues through the years, and there's something, I quite like tradition, so it's nice.
The nominees in 2001 were Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, Judi Dench in Iris, Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge, Sissy Spacek in the Bedroom, and Renée Zellweger in Bridget Jones's Diary. Obviously, this is not a, quote, normal year at the Oscars, because Halle Berry's win for Monsters Ball marked the first and, as of now, only time a woman of color has won the Best Actress Oscar.
Halle, you have said, will I ever be seen as Halle Berry actress, or will I always be black first and then an actress? With this Academy Award nomination, have you answered that question for yourself?
Well, I still think, honestly, we're still living in a time where I'm still Halle Berry, the black actress first. We're not there today, but I think it's coming.
As usual, it's not my goal to put this race in a larger context or analyze in detail the significance of this win, why it took so long to happen, and why it apparently did not lead to the kind of change many had predicted or hoped for. And again, as usual, I recommend the channel of Be Kind Rewind. Her video on the Best Actress race of 2001 gives you a thoughtful insight into the struggle that women of color faced and still face in Hollywood, and how Halle Berry overcame the historic odds against her.
I never really thought that in my lifetime my name would be synonymous with Oscar. I never believed I would get that kind of opportunity to play a character that would be worthy, that would be seen in the way movies have to be seen to even be thought about for Oscars. So if that should happen, that would be huge for me.
I instead will simply review the 5 nominated performances and at the end present you my choice for the Best Actress of the Year. So let's get right ahead with the first nominee.
Congratulations, first of all, on your recent BAFTA, and yet another one.
Thank you.
Do you ever get blasé about winning all these awards?
No, I don't, because they're always for different things. I don't know how you judge acting.
No.
I'm a bit suspicious of the
Are you?
whole process. Well, you can see when somebody dances if they can get their leg up here, or they sing and they can hit a note. But acting is, very much individual, feelings about people and what they... and how they portray the part. I don't know how you judge it. It's jolly nice to be chosen.
Well, the portrayal of Iris Murdoch in Iris, for which you've got the BAFTA, and are also up for the Oscar, is a magnificent portrayal. It made me cry. I suppose one of the jobs of an actress is to stir the emotions, and that being the case, you did it.
And tell the story. Well, I'm very pleased.
And tell the story.
Yes.
When Judi Dench received her first Oscar nomination at the age of 63 for playing Queen Victoria in Mrs. Brown, you might have thought that this was a typical case of the Academy falling for prestige actors playing royal figures, and that this was a welcome career nod for a British legend that did not have the same kind of name recognition in the US like Maggie Smith or Vanessa Redgrave. But when she won Best Supporting Actress the next year for her performance as Queen Elizabeth I in Shakespeare in Love, it already proved that the Academy had a certain fascination with her, which also would not be over soon. Her nod for Iris in 2001 was her 4th nomination in 5 years, and she would receive 3 more nominations, so far, during her career in the following years. Today, Iris is mostly remembered as typical awards bait that won Jim Broadbent an Oscar over Ian McKellen's iconic portrayal of Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. But it would be wrong to dismiss Iris too quickly, because it is actually an engaging and touching story that tells of a woman whose mind and intellect had always been the defining aspect of her existence and now has to face her own mental decline. And Jim Broadbent also shines as her husband John, who has followed Iris along all his life and doesn't know how to fill her role as the deciding force in their marriage. It's an effective and memorable performance that is not undeserving of its Oscar, and a highlight of Jim Broadbent's very successful year during which he starred opposite no less than 3 Best Actress nominees.
You finished? I thought you were close. Are you mad?
It's only a temporary glitch.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know.
Before there were Anthony Hopkins, Julianne Moore and Julie Christie, there was Judi Dench. Alzheimer and dementia have become a sort of popular disease for performers of a certain age, as it allows a varied display of different states of mind and personality, often intelligent and self-assured in the beginning, helpless and caught in eternal confusion in the end. This might sometimes cause stories to resemble each other in certain ways.
I think I may be beginning to disappear.
I feel it as if I'm sailing into darkness.
Well,
Iris.
But they still all offer enough individual tone and style to create different, compelling experiences. In Iris, Judi Dench plays real-life novelist and philosopher Iris Murdoch, who suffered from Alzheimer's disease until her death in 1999. I must admit that I am in no way familiar with her work, and Iris is also not the kind of movie that gives you real insight into her writing. We do get a sense of Iris as a writer and philosopher, but the focus of Judi Dench's performance lies on Iris as a person, and how her illness affects her life overall.
This is connected to thought. If children are not taught, what did you say?
As a performer, Judi Dench is not a chameleon in the sense that she becomes unrecognizable in her parts or is able to change her own style and personality to become the character she is playing. Rather, she suits her roles to her own presence and always brings a certain level of dignity and wisdom to the parts she plays. This is also true for Iris, but besides crafting her as a clearly intelligent and self-sufficient woman, Judi Dench also brings a beautiful touch of melancholy and a down-to-earth quality to the part, distinguishing it successfully within her filmography and turning it into one of the most memorable creations of her career.
It's harder to write than all the others, much. Have you noticed?
Just that you've seemed puzzled every now and again.
That's it, yes.
And even if Judi Dench always remains Judi Dench on the screen, I was still surprised by her physical resemblance to the real Iris Murdoch.
Well, literature is vast and multifarious and multiform. It's not, of course, entirely to do with fictions. I mean, there are kinds of literature which aren't fiction, but
historical writing and
yes,
essays,
yes, reflections of all kinds.
Yes.
But
we don't become happy
typical
just because we're free, if we are, or because we've been educated, if we have, but because education may be the means by which we realize we are happy. It opens our eyes, our ears.
Iris tells the story of its central character in 2 different timelines. As a young woman at Oxford who begins a relationship with a naive student, and as the older Iris who suffers from the consequences of her illness. In the case of John, the characterization between the young and the old personality is very consistent, and Hugh Bonneville and Jim Broadbent share a remarkable resemblance in their portrayal. Kate Winslet and Judi Dench, on the other hand, both bring their own styles to their parts, crafting characters that don't seem to resemble each other too much at first. most likely due to the fact that both actresses met just for one day during the shooting and only had taped interviews of the real Iris Murdoch as reference points for their work. But Judi Dench's performance is able to build a connection to Iris's younger self, showing how Iris has both developed over time and stayed true to her own principles. Kate Winslet's performance therefore rather stands on its own, while Judi Dench provides the necessary reasons for Iris's personality as a whole. In other words, it's somehow not easy to believe that Kate Winslet's Iris would turn into Judi Dench's Iris, but it's entirely believable that Judi Dench's Iris once was Kate Winslet's Iris. And while Kate Winslet does lay some important groundwork to let the characterization of Judi Dench succeed, it is entirely to Judi Dench's credit that the two separate timelines create one specific character. As already mentioned, Iris barely shows its main character as an artist or gives true insights into her work and thoughts. Here, it all stays on the surface, but the viewer has no problem to accept Iris as the philosopher and writer she is supposed to be due to Judi Dench's distinct on-screen personality.
Every human soul has seen, perhaps even before their birth, pure forms such as justice, temperance, beauty, and all the great moral qualities which we hold in honor. We are moved towards what is good by the faint memory of these forms, simple and calm and blessed.
She can mix intelligence and thoughtfulness with warmth and humor whenever necessary. And this works very well for the character of Iris and the tone of the movie, as the audience watches how Iris slowly loses everything that's important to her, but can understand the meaning of John in her life in various touching moments.
I wrote. Yes, my darling, clever cat. You wrote books.
Books. I wrote.
It's also commendable that Judi Dench never plays Iris as a victim. There is an understanding of her own situation and almost curiosity of what will happen to her that creates a startling effect.
It doesn't surprise me. It frightens me, but then sometimes it doesn't frighten me, and that's just as bad, because that's it winning, isn't it?
No.
Keep working, keep talking, keep the words coming.
Keep at it.
I shall come on like a deprived animal if I can't write, but like a starved dog.
Furthermore, Judi Dench also adds a welcome touch of humor to a very dark story, often teasing both the characters in the story but also the audience about Iris' state of mind, and asking the question if Iris is unaware of certain facts due to her illness or simply due to her own disinterest.
Okay, what is the name of the Prime Minister?
I don't know. Ask John. Surely it doesn't matter.
Okay, well, no, not really.
Someone will know. I've got a book to finish. Oh, Tony Blair. So there.
I also want to highlight the beautiful chemistry between Judi Dench and Jim Broadbent. The movie is not very subtle about the dynamics of this relationship.
Iris, wait for me!
Just keep tight hold of me and it'll be all right!
You won't keep still!
I can't keep still!
I can't catch up with you!
And Kate Winslet and Hugh Bonneville sometimes carry this a bit too far. But Judi Dench and Jim Broadbent give a relaxed and honest display of a marriage that has never been easy but still successful and gives both parties comfort and security.
I love you.
Thank you for being one of the most fantastically talented, funny, moving and honest actors I've ever had the chance to work with. It was a complete delight. Thank you.
As the story develops, the work of Judi Dench unfortunately begins to feel rather limited. In the structure of stories that show a relationship between one character who suffers from an illness and the other who acts as the caretaker, there is a specific role allocation. The actor who has to portray the illness gets to show an impressive display of physical and mental change, but without any further character development. The actor who plays the caretaker, on the other hand, gets the chance to dig deeper into his or her characterization and can show doubt, fear, annoyance, anger, maybe even hate, and has to present the entire effect and consequences of this illness.
Bill, I'm your husband. Fiona, it's Grant. We've been married for 45 years. Look at me, Fiona. That is not your sweater. We've had a good life together. Those are your words, Fiona, not mine.
We're lost! We're lost! We're lost! We're lost! Lost! We're lost! Justin Putin! Justin Putin! Justin Putin! Justin Putin! There is no reason for this, and if there is, I don't know it!
Therefore, these roles often tend to be more interesting and challenging. Of course, this is not a rule and always depends on the circumstances of the script and the movie, but it is the case here. Judi Dench plays Iris very touchingly, but also expectedly, with some obvious scenes and without any more chances to display the effects of Alzheimer beyond the surface.
No, Janet! 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 Janet!
It's all right, darling. Go.
The nature of the role therefore does hold Judi Dench back, unfortunately, on different occasions, but within these limitations, she realized Iris as a both intellectual and emotional person, aware of her own decline but still caught by surprise, holding on to her life as long as she can while slowly disappearing.
We've got many, many great movies to celebrate tonight. Ali, Gosford Park, Iris, a movie that even Ingmar Bergman found depressing.
This is a piece of work that often tends to get overlooked in Judi Dench's filmography, but it's actually one of her most interesting performances. Critics also called it one of her best, describing her characterization as warm, impulsive, honest and fearless, and that she expertly shifted between moments of vagueness and clarity.
I never met her. I must be one of the very few people who never did meet her. So immediately it was suggested to me. I said I wanted to do it very badly. But I didn't know that it would throw up such enormous problems like it does. I mean,
in what sense?
In the fact that you can't feed in anything of yourself to the performance, whereas Elizabeth I or Queen Victoria had a pinch, so there are a few people who still remember what she was like. Not many. But you can kind of fill in something there. But with Iris Murdoch, I had to be very, very, very honest indeed to John Bailey's account of her.
Next, we will talk about
we were all there for the right reasons. We were all there because we were obsessed with this beautiful script. And I learned so much from Todd Field. That was just a wonderful film to be a part of. Wonderful film to be a part of.
Sissy Spacek's first credited screen performance was in 1972's Prime Cut. Just 4 years later, she received her first Oscar nomination for the horror classic Carrie. And another 4 years later, she won the Best Actress Oscar for a role as country singer Loretta Lynn in Coal Miner's Daughter. During the next few years, Sissy Spacek was a regular presence in the Best Actress category with nominations for Missing, The River and Crimes of the Heart. Director David Lynch said of her, "There are actors that are chameleons. Sissy is a chameleon. She can play anything. Anything."
Your choice is Miss Sissy Spacek.
However, when she reached her 40s, her career, like that of so many other actresses in Hollywood, began to slow down. Even her Wikipedia page cannot muster any excitement for this decade. Sissy herself said, "I realized I have no control over the roles available, and it just drives you crazy. You get angry and frustrated, wondering, are there enough parts for women?" It is therefore not surprising that her performance as Ruth Fowler, the grieving mother of a murdered son, was seen by many as a comeback role for her. The movie stands to give Spacek her largest audience in years. If nothing else, it's the first film she's done in a long time that is opening wide during a prime moviegoing season. Suddenly, she was again front and center of a highly acclaimed movie with a highly acclaimed performance. Critics praised her work unanimously as detailed and multi-layered, pitch-perfect and emotionally devastating, and stated that Sissy Spacek can smile with reasonable conviction and at the same time reveal another face with X-ray clarity, and called it her best role in years. One of the reasons for this overwhelming praise is that Sissy Spacek's work completely contradicted the expectations of the audience. The character of a grieving mother seems to be defined by various rules, such as emotional breakdowns, loud despair, regrets and the longing for comfort and support. with Rouge in the bedroom defies all these conventions. She's certainly torn apart by grief, but all this grief is coupled with anger and hate and an inability to communicate any of these feelings. Rouge grieves and feels completely internally, retreating more and more while the constant hate inside her increases her resentment towards everyone around her, but especially her husband Matt.
I've actually been out with Ricky Martin living the Vida Loca. You know Ricky? Actually, when you hang out with Ricky, a lot of people want to speak the Spanish to you, and I think that's cool. I took 3 years of Spanish.
With her performance, Sissy Spacek is never out to gain the audience's sympathy. Right from the start, there's an almost cold attitude in her character, even in her warmest scenes. She shows that the connection between Rouge and Frank is not the most loving mother-son relationship, but it does feel real.
So, how are the kids? Things okay?
Yeah, they're fine.
Good. That's good. So, you talked to her?
Yeah.
And how is she?
She's great.
Sissy Spacek created Rouge as a complex woman, constantly asking questions about her motives but refusing to answer them, giving the audience a complete, familiar but also surprising characterization that shows how well she understands her inner thoughts and feelings.
I was very interested to know that you decorated your character's home in the movie in character. What was the most meaningful item you chose?
I chose a lot of antiques and some violets and beautiful orchids.
Sissy Spacek also handled the early dynamics between the different characters very well and positions Rouge with her own agenda in the setting. She clearly does not approve of the relationship between Frank and the older Natalie, who's still married and has 2 little boys, but also knows that she cannot fight Frank on this. Or her husband, who appears to be rather proud of his son and doesn't see the potential problems of this relationship the way she does.
Well, he needs his head in school, not in her.
So to speak. Ow.
It would help if you were on my side.
Are you going to call the police or do I have to?
I just told you what I think. If you want to call him, call him.
Ruth therefore displays a constant politeness to Natalie, never letting her friendly facade crack but also never appearing too welcoming.
I'm looking forward to that concert on Labor Day. The music's so unusual. It's haunting, really.
It is, isn't it?
Still, what also becomes visible in these early scenes is that Sissy Spacek is a surprisingly small presence within In the Bedroom. Tom Wilkinson's Matt is the clear central character of the story and dominates all that happens from start to finish. The audience follows him most of the time and also takes over his point of view, making Rouge often seem like an outsider, also due to Sissy Spacek's cold characterization.
What are you asking for?
What?
If you want them to leave, tell them to leave.
Okay, I'll tell him to leave.
Good.
Still, she is always a haunting presence in the bedroom. Certain images of her, just sitting in front of the TV, trying to drown the memory of what happened, are able to tell a whole story and can cause more pain than any grand emotions.
How was your day?
Fine. I had lunch with Willis. It was really great to see him.
My day was fine too, thanks.
And Sissy Spacek further underlines her unwillingness to play according to expected rules and continues to turn Rouge into a woman eaten away by her anger and underplaying many key moments.
Jesus Christ! He killed our son! It was no accident!
Ruth.
I wanted to have more, but we had Frank and Matt was just starting his practice. So I guess it made sense.
And this anger and frustration is palpable every second Sissy Spacek is on screen. Even when we only see the back of her head, it's impossible to deny the impact of her performance, dominating the scene even when she is sitting down.
If there's anything that I can ever do to
Rouge is not a woman ready to explode, but you sense the fire inside her constantly. And when Matt finally begins to confront her, the whole moment feels almost unbearable, simply due to the uncertainty about what Rouge will do and how she will react.
What do you want?
I want to know what's going on.
Oh, right.
You're obviously upset. Is there something we can talk about?
Talk? Who, us? What if somebody walked in? They wouldn't recognize us. They'd think they were in the wrong house.
Do you want to talk or not?
Oh, you mean about our dead son? No. We haven't before. Why should we bother now?
But still, while I admire many things that Sissy Spacek does in the bedroom, I have to admit that she is often fighting an almost impossible battle here. As already mentioned, the movie never truly takes on Rouge's point of view, but constantly follows Matt and gives Tom Wilkinson therefore much more room to explore and develop his character. Obviously, Sissy Spacek is to be applauded for elevating her limited material, but it is limited nonetheless.
That is not true!
Oh, yes it is. Yes it is.
The movie's final moments clearly intend to turn Rouge from the apparently weaker part of the marriage into a secret Lady Macbeth type who pulls the strings in the background, but the screenplay never gives any room to this.
Did you do it?
The character of Rouge could have been much more fascinating and three-dimensional if the movie had been half as interested in her as it is in Matt.
I don't know what to do. I feel so angry.
And these factors also most likely contributed to her Oscar loss in the end. Because for most of 2001 and the beginning of 2002, it seemed that the Academy could already engrave the Best Actress Oscar with Sissy Spacek's name. In the Bedroom made a first splash at the Sundance Film Festival, where Sissy Spacek and Tom Wilkinson won acting awards for their performances, and Sissy Spacek then continued her awards run with various more Best Actress awards, including Los Angeles and New York. And when even the Hollywood Foreign Press gives its Best Actress award to a 50+ contender, then an Oscar seems to be the logical outcome. And many outlets back then agreed, and when Oscar nominations were announced, basically said that this race was over and done with. But award season is a double-edged sword, as the time that passes between the different award shows until everything comes together on Oscar night can be both a blessing and a curse. There are performances that create a lot of buzz very early in the race and manage to carry all that praise right to the finish line. Then there are performances that are mainly regarded as also-rans, but at some point pick up steam and then peak at exactly the right moment. And then there are performances that feel destined to dominate the race right until the end, but somewhere along the line lose steam and stumble shortly before the end. And this is what happened to Sissy Spacek as well. It seemed that these high expectations that award season had created were also a setback for her. During the weeks leading up to the Oscars, various reports surfaced about Academy members watching In the Bedroom and expressing their overall disappointment. It seems that the same characteristics of this performance that were so adored by the critics, Sissy Spacek's unwillingness to play by the expected rules for a character and to gain the audience's sympathy, left many Academy members cold on the other hand. And then there were also reports coming out that many people were surprised to discover that Sissy Spacek's performance in the Bedroom was actually not larger than that of Best Supporting Actress favorite Jennifer Connelly in A Beautiful Mind. So the high amount of buzz that the early award season had created for Sissy Spacek had made her work feel undeniable, which didn't ring true for many Oscar voters, and maybe thinking that Sissy Spacek would win anyway, they began to look for an alternative.
Next new movie is called Monsters Ball. Already has have everybody talking Oscar. She's winning awards right and left. Here she is, the talented, beautiful Halle Berry.
When it starts down this path and you're winning awards left and this is how Julia Roberts started last year with the success of Erin Brockovich, and people start saying Oscar, it's going to be this is it, and it builds, and you start winning this one, that one, the Golden Globe nomination, then you're going to win that, and then it's building and building.
Now I'm scared to death.
Do you start thinking down the line? Do you think have you written your Oscar speech maybe? Do you think,
God,
or do you don't even let yourself go there?
You know, I'm right here in this moment, and I'm looking forward to the National Board of Review tonight. That's something I know I did win, and I'm so honored. I'm right here. I'm in the moment of today, and what the future is will be, you know, what that will be. So I never write a speech. I don't have one for tonight, and I know I will.
If Sissy Spacek is the case of a performance that peaked too soon during Oscar season, Halle Berry is the example of a performance that peaked at exactly the right time. Her win that night was, however, not a foregone conclusion. As just mentioned, Sissy Spacek was the clear frontrunner for many Oscar predictors for the longest time, but they also noted that the race shifted in the weeks leading up to the ceremony and that a historic win for Halle Berry became a real possibility. The main reason for this shift came at the night of the SAG Awards, when Halle Berry upset in the Best Actress category. With this win, suddenly everyone became aware that what was initially considered a one-woman show had actually turned into a race. Predictions for Best Actress therefore changed to a close finish between Halle Berry and Sissy Spacek, with some giving an outside chance to Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge.
I'm doing really well.
Really? Now, is that because you're trying to do well, or you're just...
I'm trying really hard, and I'm trying to enjoy the moments, you know, and be present. And if I'm out of control, then I'm not present. So I'm trying to be very present and notice everything.
You know, one thing that can get you out of that present is when you think about that moment when they say, and the Oscar goes to.
Yeah, and I'm not thinking about that, and I haven't really until that moment. That's when I'll think about that, and I really haven't so far.
You're leaving a lot up to the moment, aren't you?
I have to. There's no way I'd survive it if I did.
What also helped Halle Berry on her road to the Oscar was the element of surprise. Nothing that she had done so far seemed to have prepared critics for a turn as Letitia Musgrove, a woman whose life completely collapses as she experiences the execution of her husband, the death of a child, and the eviction of her home. Halle Berry had to fight hard for the role and convince director Mark Forster that she could truly inhabit the character. As many others, he mainly knew Halle Berry for her looks and was skeptical at first if she truly fit his own image of Letitia.
Well, they thought that you were too pretty for the role, right? Was that what I read?
I don't know if it was really that. I think Mark Forster, who's a wonderful director, and the best thing about him, one of the wonderful things, is he had a clear vision of the woman and of the character, and it just wasn't me.
But when Monsters Ball was released, it became clear that there was no need to worry. Critics called her work powerful and riveting, naming her an actress of impressive courage and insight, and her performance also won her awards from the National Board of Review and at the Berlin Film Festival.
See why you got the nomination is because I thought I was telling you about this, and it's true, you're a really beautiful woman, you're in a lot of good movies, but this is like really actress stuff. I mean, forget the beautiful and you're all that. I mean, it was just really just a wonderful job.
And Halle Berry also had one specific critic behind her whose support definitely helped to keep her performance in the conversation.
The #1 film on my list is Monsters Ball, starring Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry. I think Halle Berry's performance deserves to be included when Oscar nominations are announced 2 weeks from now.
But I never really thought that in my lifetime my name would be synonymous with Oscar. You know, I never believed I would get that kind of opportunity to play a character that would be worthy, that would be seen in the way movies have to be seen, to even be thought about for Oscar. So if that should happen, that would be huge for me.
Obviously, Halle Berry did not come out of nowhere in 2001. She had made her movie debut 10 years earlier in Spike Lee's Jungle Fever and increased her reputation with dramatic roles in movies like Losing Isaiah opposite Jessica Lange. She then made her first impression on awards voters when she played Dorothy Dandridge, the first black woman ever nominated for the Best Actress Oscar in the TV movie Introducing Dorothy Dandridge, a performance that won her a Golden Globe, a SAG Award and an Emmy, and later gave us this iconic Glenn Close moment.
She garnered rave reviews in 1999 for her Emmy award-winning performance in the lead in Introducing Dorothy Dandridge.
The part of Dorothy Dandridge also gave Halle Berry the chance to prepare for a moment that every woman of color ever nominated for the Best Actress Oscar so far had experienced.
Well, time is running short again. So the award for the best performance by an actress? Grace Kelly for The Country.
I knew they wouldn't give it to one of us.
The contenders that came before Halle Berry all had varying degrees of chances for the award. They were either overshadowed by a fight between Hollywood giants or Hollywood royalty in one of the biggest movies of the year, were caught in one of the strongest years ever for the Best Actress category, had the reviews to be a winner but had to take a step back to a sentimental favorite in the role of a lifetime, or gave the kind of performance that most likely would have been a shoe-in 10 years later when biopics began to take the hold on the acting Oscars.
This is validation of a lot of years of hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, it's feeling very much like that today. You know, it's women of color aren't often in my position, so I'm not only happy for me, but I'm happy for an entire group of people, actually, because I know what this means to them as well. So, it's about all of us right now, and that feels good.
There was no pattern, rhyme or reason on how a win like that of Halle Berry could happen. The media also did not focus too strongly on her chances to make history, never putting a possible win in a larger context, but only focused on its specific chances in this specific moment. It was clear that it needed the right circumstances and the right performance at the right time.
We spoke to Hugh Jackman. He said last time that he met you, you were on promo tour, and you spoke about this small movie called Monsters Ball that had turned out great. So how does it feel now? I mean, were you being able to predict that this could be such a great movie?
Oh, no way. You can never predict what'll be something that'll change your life, like this movie has mine. So I just wanted to do the work. I love the character.
Thank you, Miss Berry. All the best to you.
Looking at this race, it's actually easy to see why Halle Berry pulled off this historic moment. 1. Her performance is without a doubt the biggest in this category. Filled with clearly subtle moments, but also with many occasions to go big and loud with an ever-growing intensity and devastation, leaving many viewers both shocked and speechless. And it's therefore very likely that an Academy member who watches all 5 movies for the first time will remember her performance the most at the end. Her work undoubtedly felt brave and daring, something that many other performers would maybe be hesitant to do. Not just in regards to the infamous sex scene that generated a lot of attention in the press, but also the overall nature of the part.
Let's have Regis describe that scene.
Yeah.
I understand it's a nude scene. It's a love scene.
Yeah, it's a love scene.
But you're entirely nude?
Oh, well, no.
No, you're not? You're not.
I mean...
No, not that the audience will see.
It appears that we are, but actually, no.
Oh, really?
We were not.
Darn it, there goes one more scene I don't have to see.
Now comes Monsters Ball, where there is perhaps the most graphic and explicit sex scene, and you are certainly nude in that.
Oh, you could have gotten excited like me, but you don't know.
No,
you don't know.
Does Mavis know you got excited?
Well.
Halle Berry's win at the SAG Awards also gave a clear alternative to those who maybe thought that Sissy Spacek's work was too quiet and limited, Renée Zellweger's and Nicole Kidman's not serious enough, and Judi Dench's too small. What's most noticeable about Halle Berry's work in Monsters Ball is the sheer dedication to the role. This is not to say that her co-nominees did work less on their performances, but Halle Berry is the one who does not only present all the emotions of her character, but throws them right into the viewers' faces. It's an incredibly raw and overwhelming performance that is unforgettable at every moment, for good and bad reasons. First, the good. Halle Berry clearly understands this woman and is not afraid to bring her to life with all her flaws and shortcomings. There's no sense in denying that she gives everything to this role, emotionally draining herself for the sake of the part, making her misery and sorrow tangible through the screen. Due to the nature of the part, these loud moments are often those that tend to be remembered the most, but she is most impressive in her smaller, quiet scenes. She finds the same amount of inner turmoil at the beginning when she meets her husband for the last time and communicates a lifetime of anger and regret, as well as a whole relationship that is never shown.
Only reason I'm here, so you can say goodbye to your son.
Okay.
I've been coming here for damn near 11 years, Lawrence. And I'm tired.
In these quiet moments, she also finds the chance to construct Letitia as a three-dimensional character and is able to show how her experiences have shaped her, how she has gone through many moments like this before, and how they turned her into the person she is today.
Hank just like his daddy. He ain't a man till he split dark oak.
Halle Berry also has wonderful chemistry with Billy Bob Thornton. Wonderful not in the sense that they are a lovable, charming couple, but that they feel believable together and achieve one of the most unusual relationships on the screen. Both play characters who are lost and have lost, who look for new meaning and affection and find it in an unlikely place.
Do you want to come inside?
And even though Halle Berry mostly shines in the quiet moments of Monsters Ball, you still cannot deny the impact of her grief and despair. But this is also the point where I must apply some criticism. In a way, Halle Berry's performance in Monsters Ball consists of two parts. One is excellent, overwhelming and exhausting the audience and grabbing all your attention. The other feels strangely awkward, overwhelming for Halle Berry and making you uncomfortable for all the wrong reasons. Because while Halle Berry can be very precise in her acting, she can also feel misdirected and helpless. Take this scene with Billy Bob Thornton. There are moments when you again feel all her pain and she conveys all emotions with devastating effect, but she can feel awkward and out of her depth at the same time. A tighter direction, maybe a reshoot, would most likely have solved many of these problems, but we unfortunately did not get these.
I don't care what I brought in this house. He just eat it up. I don't care what it was I brought in here. I bring some Popeye's chicken. That boy ate the whole thing before I even get a chance to get me a bite of the chicken. He just eat it up. He would eat his little ass off.
I'm not sure what you want me to do.
You know what I want you to do? I want you to make me feel bad.
She also delivers the most unsatisfying scene of the nominees, when Letitia lets out her anger and frustration on her son. I understand that this is a difficult scene, and Halle Berry herself stated how uncomfortable she was filming it.
People always ask about the love scene, but that scene was actually harder for me because he's a real little boy with a real weight problem. And he has real issues surrounding it himself. And he was not an actor. Mark, just plucked him out of obscurity in Louisiana, so he really didn't understand the process, or so I thought.
But Halle Berry feels completely lost here, both overacting and being afraid to act at all.
Shit, look at this. Look at all this fat ass. Look at all this nasty fat. Where they at? Look at all this candy. You ain't gonna eat all this candy. You crazy?
And most of all, Halle Berry, like co-nominee Sissy Spacek, suffers from a script that holds her back too many times. Halle Berry obviously gets many impressive moments in the movie, but her character remains sadly a very passive presence. Monsters Ball reaches almost the level of misery porn, as it throws Letitia from one tragedy into the next without giving any time to breathe. Things just happen to her without her ever taking action, until she literally sits on the street and the only person willing to help her is the white man she did not want to have anything to do with anymore. Halle Berry's grief and pain is unforgettable, but it does begin to feel repetitious as you realize that pain and grief is almost the only thing she is allowed to display. However, she again achieves a miraculous moment in her final wordless scenes. which are probably the highlight of her performance and might have been the deciding factor in her Oscar win, because they leave a lasting impression, while her strongest contender was almost completely gone from her movie by the end. It is overall a performance that is not easy to judge, as it reaches the biggest heights in this lineup, but also many lows and feels too passive in a lot of moments. Still, I won't deny the power of Halle Berry's work and, of course, the relevance of her Oscar win overall. So let's move on to something lighter.
Have you met Miss Jones? Someone said as we shook hands.
We're gonna do Helen Fielding's book, The Bridget Jones Diary. I'm really excited about it. It was a very unexpected surprise for me a few months ago to get that phone call and have those conversations. I was really surprised and very excited, I have to say. Came kind of out of the blue, and it was something that I never thought to think about being considered for. So, for obvious reasons, and it's been quite a challenge.
Dying is easy, comedy is hard. This saying has been used to highlight the Academy's favoritism for drama over laughter, basically since its inauguration. Only occasionally does a mainly comedic performance manage to win a leading Oscar, but even then it is often mixed with dramatic moments to give it more prestige.
I hope getting me thinking about everything that's wrong when all I want to do is not do that has some purpose.
Given how rarely the Academy honors truly comedic performances, I feel we must be grateful for every time they give a nomination to a piece of work that doesn't exist to evoke sadness or tears, but simply as a pure piece of joy, aimed to create laughter and happiness. And succeeding completely.
What a charming idea for Moscow to surprise us with a lady, comrade.
If we had known, we would have greeted you with flowers.
Don't make an issue of my womanhood.
This is the case with the unique and original creation of Bridget Jones by Renée Zellweger.
New Year's resolution, drink less. Oh, and quit smoking. Oh. And keep New Year's resolutions.
Renée Zellweger started her career around the same time as Halle Berry. One of her most remembered early film roles was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, but her big breakthrough came with Jerry Maguire opposite Tom Cruise.
Just shut up. You had me at hello.
And she further strengthened her standing in Hollywood opposite Meryl Streep in the family drama One True Thing, where she was the true lead and VIP. Her first big award success came with a Golden Globe win for a role in the comedy Nurse Betty, which did not lead to an Oscar nomination, but was still the first step in a remarkable career that, despite occasional setbacks, had a very impressive awards run during the years.
And the actor goes to Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger for Chicago.
Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger.
Renée Zellweger in Cold Mountain.
And the Oscar goes to Renée Zellweger.
The same year Renée Zellweger had a big breakthrough with Jerry Maguire, also Helen Fielding published her novel Bridget Jones's Diary, which tells of the love and working life of a 30-something woman in London. The search for the central role in the movie version of Bridget Jones's Diary took roughly 2 years and included many different prominent and mostly British names before the casting of Texas-born Renée Zellweger was announced in May 2000.
Can't live, living is without you. I can't live.
According to the producer Eric Fellner, there was something like a 2-year casting search for the right actress to play the title character in an adaptation of Bridget Jones's Diary. And Among those considered, I'm just going to mention Kate Winslet, Rachel Weisz, Kristen Scott Thomas, Elizabeth Hurley, Tilda Swinton, Helena Bonham Carter, and almost every other British actress that we know of. But in the end, rather to play this beloved Brit, they go with a Texan. And that was not immediately popular with some people in England and elsewhere. There were a lot of skeptics, and you proved them wrong, but I know it took a lot of work to get into that particular character, and I wonder if you can share all the various ways that you prepared.
Sure. See, I didn't know any of that stuff that you're talking
Well, sorry.
And see, it's best that way.
Yeah.
It's gotten harder to stay away from that kind of information with social media and all that stuff. It used to be that you had to tear through the tabloids and things to hear about people talking crap about you, you know? Now it's effortless.
Right.
The British press, not unexpectedly, reacted very harsh to these news, stating that, of all the clunking Hollywood idiocy, casting Renée Zellweger is like remaking The Elephant Man with Jude Law, that the only good thing about this casting decision was that it was at least not Meg Ryan,
the shade of it all.
And that Renée Zellweger turned out to be so bad during early scenes that co-star Hugh Grant threatened to quit. So while some may think that Bridget Jones is just a part in a rom-com movie, the popularity of the character put a lot of pressure on Renée Zellweger to fulfill very defined ideas by the fans of the book. American outlets had an easier time accepting her in the role, and many considered it as the final payback for another famous casting coup where the cards had been turned.
Hedda Hopper's Hollywood.
Mr. Selznick was 2 years deciding on his Scarlet, and out of millions of American women couldn't find one to suit him, which would seem to cast a reflection on every girl born here.
And also said that the casting of an American actress added to the sense of isolation and loneliness of Bridget. Being cast as Bridget demanded extensive preparation for Renée Zellweger. First, there was the accent.
Thank you, Daniel. That is very good to know. But if staying here means working within 10 yards of you, frankly, I'd rather have a job wiping Saddam Hussein's ass.
Which she acquired thanks to the help of dialect coach Barbara Berkery, who had also helped actors like Gwyneth Paltrow and Johnny Depp with their British accents.
How now? Who calls?
Okay. All right, here we go. Y'all want to try it? Let's try it together.
Yeah.
All right. So let's think of what's a quintessential New Yorker phrase?
My hat-making friend up there, what would you say?
I love it!
Good one.
That's
Oh, for God's sake.
fantastic. All right, y'all. So first of all, what we have to do is open our mouths this way.
Okay.
Try and do it. Go for it. Just like that. It helps if you put your hand under your chin. I know it looks ridiculous, but let's be in this together.
Well, why do you put your hand in your chin to remind yourself? I mean, you know that it's your mouth.
Barbara would get very cross with me if I didn't, so let's just do it.
Okay.
Okay, so you know that your jaw is going down and everything is round, so don't go sideways.
Round.
Right.
Right.
So what was our phrase again? Right. So now let's do it. Everything is
band, y'all got to do it too. Yeah, look.
Yep. All right. Y'all ready? Yes. Okay. So on 3, with your mouth.
What was the phrase again? I forgot it already.
Oh, for God's sake.
Oh, for God's sake. See what she did? Okay.
All right. Okay. Y'all want to count down from 3? 2, 1. Oh, for God's sake.
That's good.
Additionally, Renée Zellweger spent 6 months working undercover at a publishing house in London.
What did you do in publishing?
I have no idea.
But how long did you do it? Because this was in preparation for Bridget Jones.
Yeah.
So how long did you do it for?
Let's see. I went over in January. We started filming after Easter, so...
A couple of months?
Yeah, a good few months, yeah.
So, you must have done something.
Well, yeah, I did. I got the coffee. I made the coffee. And I had to... cut anything out of, the local periodicals or that are about the authors that the publishing company represented. So I do that and then file them away. And I had to organize the book launches and things like that. Yeah.
And then there was the weight gain required for the role, which the media obviously covered extensively.
I wanted her to look like what she looked like in my mind's eye after having read the book. And she does have a different lifestyle than me, and I wanted her body to reflect that.
To gain 30 pounds for the role, Renée quit exercising and followed a doctor's meal plan.
All these technical aspects, gaining weight, learning an accent, made the performance of Renée Zellweger maybe easier to judge than other comedic performances and helped her to receive the first Oscar nomination of her career.
I come from Texas, and it makes me cringe when I see films where people do like a generalization or a characterization of a person from the South rather than actually doing the work and getting behind where it comes from and doing it properly.
But in the end, it all comes down to the fact that Renée Zellweger is absolutely delightful and comedic perfection as Bridget, something that critics saw too, who praised her excellent and highly entertaining performance as a very likable mess, and that she wonderfully met all expectations associated with the character, which she revisited in 2 sequels over the years.
Whose baby is it?
Of all the nominees in this year's lineup, it's remarkable that Renée Zellweger is the only one who's truly front and center of her own movie. Judi Dench was part of an ensemble where another actress played her character for many scenes. Sissy Spacek was of secondary importance to Tom Wilkinson. Halle Berry and Nicole Kidman both had male screen partners with equal or even more importance. But Renée Zellweger is the major focus of Bridget Jones's Diary, with her own voiceover to prove it and a male supporting cast that exists only in relationship to her.
In fact, perhaps despite appearances, I like you very much.
Apart from the smoking and the drinking and the vulgar mother and the verbal diarrhea.
No, I like you very much, just as you are.
Bridge, I've missed you a lot.
I'm going now.
Renée Zellweger's charming and bubbly personality on the screen gives Bridget her unique and endearing trademarks. That constant awkward behavior, that nervous laugh, that self-doubt mixed with fake self-assuredness all blend together beautifully to create one of the most memorable screen heroines.
I've got to leave my current job because I've shagged my boss.
Fair enough. Start on Monday, we'll see how we go. Oh, and incidentally, at Sit Up Britain, no one ever gets sacked for shagging the boss. That's a matter of principle.
In case you haven't noticed, I am not British and am therefore not in the position to judge Renée Zellweger's accent, but from my unprofessional point of view, she sounds just perfect and I could listen to her voiceover all day.
Mr. Fitzherbert, tits pervert more like. Daniel's boss who stares freely at my breasts with no idea who I am or what I do.
Mark's a prematurely middle-aged prick with a cruel-raced ex-wife. Perpetua's a fat arsehole bag who spends her time bossing me around.
Maybe not.
The script of Bridget Jones's Diary obviously makes it easy for Renée Zellweger, because the whole movie is constructed in a way that is aimed to make the audience love her. But you still need the right actress to earn this love and affection, which Renée Zellweger does flawlessly.
Suddenly feel like screen goddess in manner of Grace Kelly. Though perhaps ever so slightly less elegant under pressure.
Bridget Jones, wanton sex goddess with a very bad man between her thighs. Mum, hi.
Renée Zellweger does a great job of handling the development of Bridget. From hating Mark to slowly falling in love with him, finding herself the unexpected object of affection of a man like Daniel, and slowly gaining the necessary courage to sort everything out herself, but always consistent with the way Bridget acts, sings and behaves.
I thought you said she was thin.
If I can't make it with you, I can't make it with anyone.
That's not a good enough offer for me. I'm not willing to gamble my whole life on someone who's, well, not quite sure.
She also has wonderful chemistry with all of her co-stars, not just Hugh Grant and Colin Firth, but with everyone else as well, not setting Bridget up as the queen of the story, but as part of it, even if it is her own story.
Friends of yours?
No, I've never seen them before in my life.
But in the end, it all comes down to the comedy in this performance. And Renée Zellweger kills it in scene after scene, becoming endlessly entertaining and memorable.
Oi! Oi!
sorry, the mic's not working.
Well, at a dash, I've got another party to go to. Loads of single people, mainly puffs. Bye.
One thing has to be said, Bridget Jones is obviously not a very deep character. This does not mean that I miss dramatic moments. A comedic character can be three-dimensional and complex without tears and sadness, but Bridget is not really that kind of role. Still, it never feels as if anything is missing from this character. She benefits so much from Renée Zellweger's interpretation that she comes across as both real but also as a very specific creation. Renée manages to be both human and hilariously touching in scene after scene, crafting Bridget with humor and endearing honesty. And what she lacks in complexity, Renée makes up for with laughter. And sometimes, that is all you need.
Weight, 140 pounds, plus 42 mince pies. Alcohol units? Oh, thousands.
Bugger off!
Come on then, kids.
And the last nominated performance is...
Your reputation is that roles exhaust you, that you give it all. Every one of them, people say. Directors who work with you say.
I think...
You give yourself
yeah,
over.
Yes, I do. I think you're so lucky to be an actor, let alone an actor being given a great role. To show up and not honor that is so disrespectful to the thousands of actors out there, hundreds of thousands of actors out there, who would die to play it, you know? So you have to go in there and say, I cherish this opportunity and I'm going to do everything I can to help the director achieve his vision.
During the 50s and 60s, musicals and Oscars were a strong and long love affair that resulted in many wins for acting, directing and producing, and of course in many technical categories.
Boris Levin for West Side Story.
The Sound of Music, Robert Weiss.
An American in Paris.
The King and I, Alfred Newman and Ken Darby.
Julie Andrews.
Rick Harrison.
Yul Brynner.
Rita Moreno in West Side Story.
Oliver.
Cecil Beaton for My Fair Lady.
Robert Wise, Sound of Music.
Daniel L. Fack for West Side Story. The King and I, Irene Shell.
West Side Story.
Gigi.
Gigi. Gigi.
Again, Gigi.
When the taste of movie audiences shifted, cabaret brought a new style to musicals that took the genre right into the 70s. But after that, the love affair was basically over and musicals spent the next decade thinking about how they wanted to be. Then came Moulin Rouge. The over-the-top production was a bold and loud return of the genre, bringing it to life with a unique style and launching a new wave of movie musicals that is continuing to this day. And it was also a decisive moment in the career of Nicole Kidman. Having started to act in the 80s, she quickly gained prominence in Australia with movies such as Emerald City and Dead Calm. 1990 was then the year that changed everything when she co-starred with Tom Cruise in her first American movie Days of Thunder.
And after that Days of Thunder came, who was it called you and said, we've seen Dead Calm, and we want you to come meet? To talk to Tom
Sam
about...
Cohn. They called me in on Days of Thunder to, on a big American movie, and I came.
And you were ready?
I met. I don't know if you're ever ready. I sort of came over and I remember sitting in the Beverly Hills Hotel. I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. And I remember switching on the TV and there were like 62 channels.
And you were
I was
used
frightened
to 3
to go out, actually. And then I went to New York City. They took me to New York and I stepped off the plane and I just went, oh, this is a dream. But then, of course, I went into the hotel room and didn't come out because I was too frightened. Ridiculous.
And then you were introduced to Tom.
And then I met my ex-husband, yeah.
And made that movie.
Yes, yeah.
She and Cruise famously became one of Hollywood's most popular couples, which made her a household name across the globe. She spent the 90s developing her skills as an actress, winning a Golden Globe, but no Oscar nomination, for To Die For, and mixed artistic challenges such as Portrait of a Lady and Eyes Wide Shut, with crowd pleasers such as Batman Forever and The Peacemaker. It already became very clear that Nicole Kidman was not willing to reduce herself to a certain style or genre, something she would continue in her career, switching between historical dramas, Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell comedies, character work, unexpected supporting roles, and Paddington. And in this exciting and varied career, 2001 was the starting point when Nicole Kidman began to attract more attention for her acting than for being Mrs. Tom Cruise. Obviously not only due to her film appearances, but also their divorce.
Were you surprised by this divorce? Let me just tell you this. I don't know about you guys, but everybody knows I have a best friend, Gail. I don't know if you know this. And also one of the producers, a best friend, who on the day that this was announced on the news, for some reason I wasn't up watching the news, called me at home as though it were a member of her family. And also, Ellen Rackett, the producer here, called and said, "Oh my God, have you heard?" And I thought something had happened to her or one of her children. And it was about your divorce. So I'm not sure that you are aware of what your marriage to Tom Cruise was in the consciousness. I think everybody viewed it as this great fairy tale. And I think when people see that, if you guys can break up, then it means a lot of things that are shaky out there are shakier than, And so when that happened, were you surprised? Because, there have been lots of media reports that you didn't even know it was going to happen.
It's almost impossible to separate this part of Nicole Kidman's private life from her work in 2001 because it feels so completely intertwined. The media at that time clearly noted that Nicole Kidman did not hide during the divorce proceedings, but actively promoted her two movies coming out that year, The Others and Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge's director, Baz Luhrmann, stated, "She had a choice. She could run and hide, or she could get back up on the horse, go out and be Nicole Kidman." And she herself stated that she did such extensive promotion for Moulin Rouge, despite all the drama in her personal life, because this is a film that's unusual, it's unconventional. I believe in it, I love it. We all worked so hard.
You have had an extraordinary year, 2 extraordinary pictures. And, of course, needless to say, the private life. But
Ewan's here, too.
Ewan McGregor. Oh, Ewan is here, too.
Without the connection to Tom Cruise and the simultaneous release of 2 extremely different performances, the media suddenly discovered Nicole Kidman as a highly versatile and exciting actress who is willing to take many risks and surprise with each new performance.
You often go after strong, independent women. Is Satine a bit devilish as well?
Yeah, she's got, she's different to anything I've ever played before. Baz sort of brought things out of me that I haven't ever been able to do on screen before. And it's the first real love story I've done. So, and it was so much fun being able to be in love every day. Describe the year? Rocky.
The difference between her 2 roles in 2001, a terrified, stern mother in a haunted house and a singing courtesan in a colorful, over-the-top musical, gave her career a major boost and made her an immediate awards contender. But what movie would bring her her first Oscar nomination?
2 nominations, 2 leading roles, and how do you feel about it? Do you have a preference if you wanted to win one or the other and pretend Ewan is not standing here?
Just anything.
Her reviews for Moulin Rouge were mostly glowing. Critics praised her for pulling off the difficult role of Satine, stating that she was dazzling, splendid and simply spectacular, and that she gave the movie its romantic thrill. They also noted her enormous chemistry with Ewan McGregor, and she also got a lot of admiration for working so hard on the physical requirements of the part that she actually injured one of her ribs during the shooting. But they also commented on what they considered a thin voice that was barely commendable, and that Ewan McGregor clearly overshadowed her in the singing department. Also, a movie as extreme as Moulin Rouge is destined to split the critics, which it certainly did.
The discipline of that. And then the singing. I just remember you having this exquisite voice and me going, I am never going to be able to hit these notes.
No,
and I was sort of being, get in the room, practice, Nicole, come on. And you would sort of come in and...
No, that's
not
true.
Yes, it's true.
No, we were all in the same boat there.
You were so much better than me. It's so true. And I was like...
Her work in The Others was seen in fact by various critics as her superior performance in 2001, and called it her icy best.
And that's Tom Cruise right behind me. We were at the premiere of The Others, and he and Nicole Kidman arrived half an hour apart, and we've got them both on camera.
This year she received 2 Golden Globe nominations, one for Best Actress in a Drama for The Others and one for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical for Moulin Rouge, winning the latter. However, when she failed to get a nomination at the SAG Awards, it was seen by some as a sign that her Oscar nomination was in trouble, as voters were split between her 2 performances. However, the overall popularity of Moulin Rouge, which, despite the split critics, received a Best Picture nomination, carried her work as Satine to the Kodak Theatre. As already mentioned, while Oscar predictions were mostly split between Halle Berry and Sissy Spacek, Nicole Kidman's overall presence that year, the respect for how she handled her divorce and came out at the other side unexpectedly triumphant, led many predictors to think that she had an outside chance.
Poetic enough for you.
Yes. But beside these sentimental factors, she also delivered an outstanding performance which created an immediately iconic and parodied character.
Come and get me, boys! 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 On the hand might be quite continental, but Oscar is a hostess friend.
But even if Moulin Rouge is a very fast production with attention-seeking costumes, art direction, editing and cinematography, it also depends very clearly on its cast to bring the story to life, especially Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. The movie makes sure that the audience is always aware of Satine's spell on the man in the Moulin Rouge and hands the whole story basically to Nicole Kidman, but the role still needs the necessary combination of talent, personality and looks to turn this all into reality, which Nicole Kidman all provided flawlessly.
Wilting flower, bright and bubbly, or smouldering temptress?
I'd say smouldering temptress. We're all relying on you, Gosling. Remember, a real show in a real theatre with a real audience, and you'll be
a real actress. Duke, don't you toy with my emotions. You must know the effect you have on women. Let's make love. You want to make love, don't you?
Not wasting any time on drawing attention to her looks, Nicole Kidman displays an arresting confidence in her role. The story of Moulin Rouge could have very easily turned the whole thing into a disaster, as the movie walks a thin line between success and failure, but thankfully never crosses this line. And the same is true for Nicole Kidman, whose work is perfectly in sync with the story around her, but never in danger of being overshadowed. Instead, she and Ewan McGregor come out of the production as the 2 most notable aspects. Again, the screenplay clearly wants the love story between Christian and Satine to be the main focus of the movie, but without their abilities to combine star power, personality and character acting, this would not have succeeded.
Not a duke. Not a duke. Am I right?
A writer?
And when you thought I was the Duke, you said that you loved me. And I wondered if
it was just an act?
Yes.
Of course.
It just felt real.
Christian, I'm a courtesan. I'm paid to make men believe what they want to believe.
Yes.
It's nothing. It's just an infatuation. It's nothing.
The infatuation will end. Go to the boy. Tell him it's over.
All this already shows that the work of Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman is strongly connected. Their chemistry is the foundation of Moulin Rouge, and Ewan McGregor was seriously robbed of a Best Actor nomination, actually a Best Actor win, but Nicole Kidman is not completely dependent on him. Her work exists perfectly in relationship to him, but also as a creation of its own.
These silly writers let their imaginations run away with them. Now, why don't you and I
have a little supper. And then afterwards, we can let Monsieur Zedler know how we would prefer the story to end. Hmm? You promised. You promised to me you wouldn't be jealous. It will be all right. Yes, it will.
Ewan and I knew that for the film to work, the love story had to work, and the love story between us had to be believable. And, you know, it's not even how you make it work, it just kind of happens or it doesn't happen. And luckily, it existed on screen, so you could, you know, have these beautiful scenes. But Bads helps with that, and I think somehow music helps with that. It kind of feeds it in a weird way. So rather than being frightened of the music and singing to each other and all that stuff, we embrace that.
And there's no mountains too high, no river too wide. Sing out this song and I'll be there by your side. Storm clouds may gather and stars may collide.
Looking at the history of great musical stars, Nicole Kidman is obviously not Barbra Streisand, Liza Minnelli or Judy Garland. Critics might have been right when they noted that her voice is rather thin, but it still fits beautifully within the movie and makes a lasting impression.
But I prefer a man who lives
Zedler's investor.
and gives expensive.
The Duke.
The hand are continental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend. Though nothing will keep us together,
We could steal time just for one day. We could be heroes forever and ever. We could be heroes forever and ever. We could be heroes.
But more than that, Nicole Kidman works very hard and digs very deep to craft Satine as a three-dimensional character. Satine might be, next to Bridget Jones, the least complex part in this lineup, but she still provides many challenges for an actress. Not only singing and dancing, but also to humanize a love story and a woman in a movie so out of this world. And Nicole Kidman also added more depth than might have been asked for by the script in her performance.
Harold knows. Sooner or later, the Duke will find out too. On opening night, I have to sleep with the Duke. I couldn't go through with it. I saw you there and I felt differently and I couldn't pretend. And the Duke, he saw it. Christian, I love you. And I couldn't do it. I didn't want to pretend anymore.
Like Judi Dench, Nicole Kidman would often be described as a rather cold and technical actress, but she brings warmth, humanity and humor to this role, displaying movie star charisma while using her own star power for the sake of creating Satine as a natural center of attention.
Very well. Then why don't you come down here and let's get it over and done with.
I prefer to do it standing.
Oh.
You don't have to stand, I mean. It's sometimes that... It's quite long. And I'd like you to be comfortable. It's quite modern what I do, and it may feel a little strange at first, but I think if you're open, then you might enjoy it.
I'm sure I will.
Nicole Kidman handles all the tasks that the movie throws at her with elegance, style and touching sincerity, and an unexpected talent for comedy.
This will be blue birds. Oh, come on. Come on. I think... Oh, the mountains are shaking. Oh, Ricky, ticky.
Is everything all right?
A little nervous. It's just sometimes it takes a while for, inspiration to come.
Oh, yes. Let Mummy help. Does that inspire you? Let's make love.
Make love?
You want to, don't you?
But she can always change this comedic tone in a matter of seconds to a more honest reaction, bringing sudden depth to a superficial origin. She has to be Marilyn Monroe, Gwen Verdon, Judy Holliday, Madonna, Rita Hayworth and Greta Garbo all in one and from one moment to the next, and brings it successfully all to life in her own interpretation. And she also handles all the dramatic moments of the later scenes with the same wonderful self-assuredness. Again, the style of the movie would make it very easy for Nicole Kidman to get lost in the proceedings, but her ability to make Satine not just a symbol, but a real human being makes the final scenes of Moulin Rouge absolutely heartbreaking.
Yes, it all ends today. Today's a day when dreaming till the end of time.
Like no other performance in this lineup, Nicole Kidman combines a movie star quality with real character work, bringing joy, despair, tragedy and love to the screen in the most glorious way, and delivering a performance that fulfills all expectations that the iconic nature of Satine has created over time.
It's her, the sparkling diamond.
And finally, here's my ranking of the 5 nominees.
You love water. When you swim, you love it. Swim is good for you.
When are we leaving?
Not today.
We're going to London.
No, we're going for a swim.
When are we leaving?
Not today.
When are we leaving?
Dot.
Hank? You looking for Hank?
Yes. Is he here?
Who are you?
My name is Letitia Musgrove. And, me and Hank is, friends.
Musgrove?
I know what you think, that I was too lenient, that I let him get away with...
Everything! Everything!
Yes, and why? Why did he never come to you?
He wouldn't listen to me, man!
No, he wouldn't listen to you.
You made
He
sure
wouldn't
of
listen
that.
to you because you never listened to him.
No, but you did. You were winking at him the whole time. You encouraged him. You wanted what he had. Her.
Oh, my God, you gotta be kidding.
It.
And here to introduce it properly is the man we all call Tits Pervert. Mr. Tits Pervert. Mr. Tits Pervert. Fitzherbert. Because that is his name. Mr. Fitzherbert.
What are you doing?
I don't need you anymore! All my life, you've made me believe I was only worth what someone would pay for me! But Christian loves me. He loves me, Harold. He loves me. And that is worth everything. We're going away from you, away from the Duke, away from the Moulin Rouge! Goodbye, Harold.
Today, this lineup might be most famous for its historic winner,
Halle Berry in Monsters Ball.
But I think this sells all nominated ladies short, because this is actually a year where any performance could have won and it would have been a worthy choice. While Nicole Kidman is my clear winner, Judi Dench, Halle Berry, Sissy Spacek and Renée Zellweger are all very close and are all very deserving of the nominations. There would surely have been other choices for this category that year, from Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive and Tilda Swinton in The Deep End to Isabelle Huppert in The Piano Teacher, but none of the 5 nominees feels like a default choice. Each woman had her own challenges to overcome in her work and they all succeeded beautifully. And even if Halle Berry is not my personal choice, it's another win I don't want to complain about simply due to its historic nature.
This moment is so much bigger than me. This moment is for Dorothy Dandridge, Lena Horne, Diane Carroll. It's for the women that stand beside me, Jada Pinkett, Angela Bassett, Vivica Fox, and it's for every nameless, faceless woman of color that now has a chance because this door tonight has been opened.
As we all know, the hopes that Halle Berry connected to her win were unfortunately not realized, and as of today we are still waiting for another woman of color to follow Halle Berry's footsteps.
That win, almost 15 years ago, was iconic. It was important to me, but I had the knowing in the moment that it was bigger than me. I believed that in that moment, that when I said the door tonight has been opened, I believed that with every bone in my body, that this was going to incite change because this door, this barrier had been broken. And to sit here almost 15 years later and knowing that another woman of color has not walked through that door is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because I thought that moment was bigger than me, and it's heartbreaking to start to think maybe it wasn't bigger than me.
Wow.
Maybe it wasn't, and I so desperately felt like it was.
Of course, it is much to ask of Halle Berry's Best Actress win to change an entire industry and the thinking behind it. An Oscar win does obviously not have the power to create this change alone. But it was an important moment in Oscar history nonetheless, not only due to its overall significance, but also for its validation of an actress that did not seem destined to make it to the stage but overcame all doubts by the sheer dedication to her art and the belief of the Academy in the quality of her work. And that counts for something too.
I was so happy for her because that picture was so good. It was the best film of the year, and her performance, I think, was the best performance by a female in many years. And for her to become the first black actress to win in the Best Actress category, and to name those other people, including Dorothy Dandridge, who she played on television, and to know their stories, was one of the greatest highlights in Oscar history.
And believing in me. Thank you, thank you, thank you!
Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please let me know below or on Twitter. Bye!